Now we was talking about the corporate level and the Jews. But let me say before we go to the Jews, you know, rap music, most people see your P. Diddy's and your Russell Simmons and your Dr. Dre, which is the #1 sellout nigga. But behind the scenes are the Israeli Jews.
That's
now I'm gonna give you a couple of players for those who don't know. You got Lyle Cohen. Lyle Cohen is the president of Interscope. That's Russell Simmons' boss. Okay. Then you got Hillary Rosen. Okay, she runs the whole executive for distribution for all them labels. You got Sid Rosenberg and you got some other players, but the bottom line is Jews run the rap business.
Always have.
Always have, which are poisoning the minds of the young people. Not only that, but the use of subliminal and extremely low frequencies are being used in this music. And Bobby, you can expand on the corporate level, how these Jews have cornered damn near the globe.
Yeah.
As far as control.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know, it started even with Rick Rubin. He was one way back in the day with Def Jam and all of that. There's a guy named Panic who used to write songs for Public Enemy. He wrote Can't Trust It.
Okay.
Anyway, has an 8-hour tape on the whiteness and how the whole structure was always white.
Right.
Always Jews.
Always.
Behind the whole rap industry. Behind the whole rap industry. And it's interesting how, get that movie, Welcome to Death Row. Did you ever see that?
No, never saw it.
Welcome to Death Row. I'll send you a copy.
Okay.
And in there they show how, in the end, your boy went to jail. Suge Knight was in jail.
Right.
Tupac was dead.
Biggie.
Biggie was dead. Tupac was dead. And a whole lot of mayhem happened. And the company, Death Row Records, later on sold to Interscope or whatever for so many millions of dollars. And in the end, when it all, if you see that movie, in the end of that movie, you see at the end that the Jew boy won. He won the whole thing. And what happened? As usual, black people broke, black people dead. You see, and black people incarcerated.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's interesting how you never see them on TV as anything negative.
Ever.
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 Only victims.
Always victims.
Of the Holocaust or some quote-unquote anti-Semitic hatred which doesn't exist.
Don't
because
exist.
These are white folks and you can't tell them apart. Come on.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Explain it to the people out there in TV land. Jews is not a race, it's a religion. So can you explain that? Because people think that Jews are some race, man. Right. And let's dispel that.
And most white rabbis tell you it's not a race.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But the key here is it's a people that is usurping or masquerading as an ancient set of people, which origins happen to be a spin-off branch of people that were was ultimately ancient Egyptians.
Exactly.
Now that particular Hebrew, that particular Jew and the ancient Hebrew have nothing to do with each other, no connection whatsoever. You know, no connection whatsoever. And we can even go in the aspect of, we talk about a spin-off group of Akhenaten's crew coming up out of Egypt and going on up into some form of Canaan or Mesopotamia, and basically we working their brand of Egyptian mythology into the language of that land.
Speaking of Mesopotamia, what do they call Mesopotamia now?
Part of Iraq. Iraq and Iran and all of that.
That's right.
Right. You know, which was named Iraq in the 1930s after it was being Persia.
Right, in Persia.
You know, and all, and before that it was Babylon.
Babylon.
Babylonia.
Right.
Or Babylon.
Right.
Which is interesting here because we must understand that the modern masquerade of what we call Judaism or the Jews, which is this secret society, get their start in Spain. Get Arthur Cox's 13th tribe, taken from Moorish manuscripts. And in so many words, we said this story thousands of times before, that there was groups of people that was in Spain at the time when the Moors ruled Spain for 700 years. They had to choose between being Christians at that time, which was predominant, which was dominant in the European world, or Muslim.
Right.
And there was a group of people who decided they didn't want to do either, and ended up, or neither, ended up doing the Hebrew thing, who was converted into Hebrewism by the Moors of Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And they took that title and took that image and ran with it and been building, trying to build an ancient link, or this legitimate link, as these chosen people ever since. There's a whole book called The Convention of Ancient Israel, which goes into that same problem. These people carefully and painstakingly has centered their whole existence around some ancient mythology that don't belong to them. But it's a close-knit secret society. Because if you, see, you get them by the balls, because if they will argue the fact that they're Hebrews and somehow try to link this thing and go and try to use the ancient book of Exodus, or try to use the book of Exodus, or the 5 books of Moses to somehow legitimize their claim, then they would have to say that they were ancient Egyptians and Moses was in the Egyptian house. And then they got another problem, because they're going to have to find out, they're going to have to explain how you turn from being black people in Kemet.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember now, Moses supposedly, if you go by the mythology,
By the myth. Right.
that Moses was supposed to grow up in the house of the Pharaohs, and they couldn't tell him from being an Egyptian. Now, according to the story,
Right.
that they couldn't tell him from being Egyptian. He was born in Goshen, which is a place in Kemet, which is black folks there now. But in so many words, according to the story, they couldn't tell him until he had to tell the Pharaoh that he was Egyptian, because he was passed off, was Hebrew, because he was passed off as an Egyptian in the Pharaoh's house. So if you try to take sublime mythology, which it means something else in principles, and try to make a historical case about that, then the white Jews have to answer this: well, how did you get from being an Egyptian, or a group of Hebrews that looked like Egyptians, because Moses was passed off as a Canaanite or an Egyptian? How did you get from being black to looking white?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And how did you end up in Europe?
Right.
And how is it that most of your history as this white group of people, we got mostly in Europe?
Right.
Until you entered into Jerusalem, or quote-unquote Palestine,
Right.
or Israel in 1948.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's the first time you had claim to a land, because we can go right back there now, and BET got in trouble for this, because remember, Bev Smith went to Israel and found an ancient group of Hebrews, not the Ben Armin group of African Americans that traveled over.
Yeah, Ben Yahweh and all that.
Yeah, and not that group, but an ancient group of Hebrews that say they have always lived in that land, and they were blue-black people.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? But the point I'm trying to make here is we're still talking about it. Is it really a falsification of being these so-called holy divine people who are the heirs to the kingdom of God,
Mm-hmm.
but yet tend to build their kingdom on this earth as the richest and most controlling people on the planet?
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That they ain't really interested in going to the other realm or going to the other level, because the simple fact is they got to control everything down here.
Mm-hmm.
You see? Now this might sound a bit anti-Semitic
Wait, hey, come on,
in this
sound,
particular aspect.
sound it off.
If you are trained and programmed into thinking of what the Jews want you to think, that anybody who break their conspiracy, you see what I'm saying, is being intolerant.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? No, we're talking about history here. These people are Europeans.
Straight up.
And they have no, just like any place else, they really have no claim on the planet Earth. But the damn sure don't have no claim to any ancient area, you see what I'm saying, or Northeast Africa, or what you call the Middle East.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's right.
And what you call the Middle East. You see, because these people were completely European.
That's right.
You see, and now what they have become, from the inception of when they decided they were going to conquer the world and go after the purse strings of the world, was a close-knit secret society, but more a secret society of organized crime, including today that the mafia, which was destroyed in the 90s, the so-called Italian mafia. The great mystery here is that the Italian mafia, although they had their families and their traditions, never were the purse strings and the clerks and the money changers of that system.
Right.
It was the Jews that ran the purse string or the money of the mafia the whole time.
That's right.
So we're talking about the Italians were nothing but flunkies.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And their family structure, of what you call, all steeped in Italian, Italian garb, Italian culture, really was a front
For the Jew.
for the Jews behind the scene who ran the money. The most successful mafia, because there's only one major one that was one of the ones that was out front, along with Lucky Luciano and Bugsy, and that was your boy Gambino. No, not that. The boy, the one from Israel. Can't think of his name right now. Myelinsky.
Yeah.
Who was the Jew that never, isn't it ironic that all of them got deported, got killed, but he died at an old age, and they never fought with him.
Never.
You see what I'm saying? That's because he was a representative of the people behind the scene who ran the shit all the time, the whole time.
Right.
Now we say that, and because this is a great conspiracy here, because if they are fake, if they know that their origins are bogus and conspiratorial in a fraudulistic way, I don't want to make up no words, but in a fraudulent way, then they know that in actuality they have to be impersonating a group of people that is the real McCoy.
That's right.
Even the word real McCoy comes from Amos McCoy, a black inventor. But has to be the real deal.
Real deal Jimmy.
The real deal Jimmy.
That's right.
In this particular case, it has to be us that fulfill those prophecies that was put down by an ancient sect of black people. You see what I'm saying? The book of Daniel, the book of Solomon, where they talk about prophecy of a people coming out of pain and suffering. But it said, even in the New Testament, which is Egyptian biology because it's Gnostic, that these people that came out of this suffering, they would come out of this suffering only in the last days. Now, clearly, the Jews can't fit that description. Not being the richest people on the earth.
No, sir.
They are the money changers.
Yep.
They say these are people that came out of a great suffering. Now, although the Jews have been trying to, I say European Jews,
Right.
Ashkenazis, have been trying to corner the market on suffering only through illusion and perception. Clearly, the people that they're talking about that are the suffering are the people that's actually suffering at the hands of the Jews, especially when it comes to image-wise. That's what we get into.
Which is the black man and woman in
the
United
black man and woman in America.
In America.
And around the world.
And around the world.
But clearly, the people of Israel, of the modern state of Israel, which is a state of the 51st state of America.
That's right. Stepchild.
Stepchild. And clearly, the people that we grow up to in my life, I've never met Jews in poverty in America.
Ever.
Ever. I have met people in poverty known as black people who had to go and buy from the merchants.
Right.
That they call the Jews, but I've never met them. So clearly, the whole concept of people coming out of suffering, and we can't see no evidence of a modern day Jew, and I'm talking about one for the last 50 years, doing any kind of suffering
whatsoever,
other than oppressing
others,
and conspiracy in an insidious way. Obviously, they can't be the people that's lining up in them scriptures. So that means there has to be a person that these particular Jews are in conflict with, or impersonating, and in competition with, although these people don't even know it.
Right.
Because most black people think that the ancient Hebrew is the Jew that's in Israel.
Or the Israel they talk about in the Bible is them same road crackers over in Israel right now.
Over in Israel right now.
And people don't know that Ariel Sharon is a Russian. And they don't even know that. This man's a Russian. Ariel Sharon is a Russian. And they think that this same Israel, the state of Israel, is the same people in the Bible. That's what I mean by the insanity of religion.
I remember one day, this black woman standing up on the train, and this was down in Atlanta. So apparently, by her being a part of the South, she never met those Jews in New York with the black on.
Right.
What you call them on? You know, the ones with the ones that wear all the black.
Right.